So in our exercise, what we'll need for this is just like a couple of weeks ago, we'll need pen and paper because we're going to do a little bit of journaling here, right? So grab your pens and paper. So with the journaling, just like we did previously, I want you to write and not stop writing. Keep going. This is where we're getting quite deep into our thinking when we begin to struggle, but we're still writing because we're trying to tap into a bit of the unconscious mind, subconscious mind. Okay. So in this exercise, there's 4 questions that I'm going to ask for this. We'll take probably about 10 minutes to go through this. And then the next part after this is where we do a meditation around it to lock in a future situation. So we're looking at positive emotions and all that kind of thing. So to start with, I want you to just write out and just say pick 3, 4, 5, whatever number is appropriate for you. Just highlight some scenarios that you are struggling with right now. So some examples might be public speaking, it might be presenting to large audiences, it might be going into interviews, it might be talking to senior clients, maybe going live on social media, whatever these are. Just note down a few of these experiences and maybe put a little bit of detail in describing them. It's just for your own purposes, this part. Okay. So let's just spend a few minutes doing this. Okay. Okay, so once again, just what scenarios are you struggling with right now? Just put some detail in there. Example, presenting, interviews, networking events, just anything you struggle with. Okay, so you should have a few items there, the very least. Now, first off, what we've done on this is by identifying some of these is first shining a light on it. It's making us recognize that, right, this is an issue that I have, and this is something that I potentially want to work with to overcome. So the next question. So what do you believe about just one of those situations that makes you struggle with it? So an example might be that, I don't know enough about the subject that I'm presenting on. I'm not confident, or maybe people will think I'm stupid. They're just examples, right? So yeah, what do you believe about just one of those situations that makes you struggle with? So maybe pick your biggest problem, your biggest challenge. Okay. And just go ahead, a few minutes, and write as many points as you want about this specific scenario. A few minutes. Okay, so if you have a bit more to write, feel free to continue. So just to reiterate, what do you believe about one of those situations that makes you struggle with it? If you feel as though you have enough just for the next minute or so, maybe pick another one and go into a bit of detail because you can do that as extra work if you wish outside of this. Okay. So now what we should have is a number of scenarios and then a deep dive into one of them, giving us a bit of background as to so what is it I believe is actually driving this thing that I am struggling with at this point in time. So we've just got a couple more things to explore. So how do you feel if you remember back to the time when that scenario was live? How do you feel either during or even just now thinking about that scenario? What emotions are coming up for you? So you could feel nervous, frustrated, lonely, sad, or any of the emotions. So how do you feel either during it, if you remember a time, or thinking about that scenario? Couple of minutes. Okay. So then our final question about these struggles is what do you do to avoid the scenario? What do you do to avoid the scenario? And then the sub question of is this actually serving you today? So I'll go back to the example of public speaking. Many people will avoid public speaking at any cost. Just that question of if that's something you do, and that's one of your prominent scenarios, is it helping you today? Couple of minutes. Okay. So what we've done from the start is we've shone a light on the experience, but then we've begun to unpack what it is that we are actually experiencing at that point in time. And we finished with that ultimate question of is this belief, is this pattern actually helping us to grow, or is it hindering us? Okay. So we're going to go into the next piece, which is where we begin to reflect on what it is that we have observed. So if you just take a moment, take 60 seconds, 90 seconds or so, just read back all that you have written. Okay. So just check in on how it feels. And how would it feel if you just could smash through that? If whatever that scenario was, that you could overcome it. That the next time you was presented with the opportunity to do it, that you just would. That you would not think twice. You'd not hesitate. You'd just go and do it. So this is where we now go on to creating an empowering association. So new associations, they can rewire your brain for success. And some of the simple things that we can do here are things like thinking positively about our goals. We can do it rather than I'm not sure. And if you notice what athletes do, they do this all of the time, that they will always be eyes closed, they'll be in some form of meditative state. They'll be doing something where they are left alone. They're thinking about the victory. They're visualizing it. And this creates an emotional state in their body. This primes them for success. One thing that Tony talked about a lot in UPW is that visualization is an incredibly powerful tool because you can always tell in these instances that, football is a great one for those football fans, the amongst the viewers here, right? That when you're watching football on telly or live, you can almost certainly know when a player is going to miss a penalty. It's because their head just isn't in it. They haven't got that certainty that they are going to go and score. And this is where the visualization element can be really key to this. So here is how I've applied some of this to my running. Now, I've mentioned before in previous sessions, and you can likely see from my wall behind me, that I'm an avid runner. But it's absolutely damned hard at times to do. There's days when I would much rather not be out there, that I'd much rather be inside at home, right? Over this last few months, particularly, I've been struggling a little bit with tight hamstrings. I've been having kind of tight Achilles niggles, like all sorts has been going on. But, I got thinking about the headspace that I am in. And basically everything that I've explored, that I've discussed previously, that Tony's basically highlighted and kind of brought to life for me. So I've begun to experiment a bit, right? So first off, I looked at posture, right? I thought, so whilst I'm running, what is my posture like? And what I noticed is that I was leaning maybe a little bit forward in stance, so my shoulders were not directly in line with my hips. And I thought, so how might I run upright more? I could force it, but then is it that I'd actually be adding more strain to my shoulders and my lower back? I thought, it's not natural, so surely there's something else that I actually need to do. So secondly, just like what we've been through, I've begun to think about, okay, so what's the brain's impact on emotion and how does that come into play as it relates to physiology? I thought about, so how grateful am I for being able to run? I thought about my weekend. I thought about my children. I thought about the inspiration that I was giving them. I thought about, I run through forests, so I was thinking about the trees. I was looking at the paths, about how beautiful it was all around me. And everything suddenly become great about my experience. But one of the big things is that I actually noticed that I had a big beaming smile on my face. I started to feel different. I started to feel more positive. And I've begun to notice after like 5 minutes or so that, my runs weren't necessarily a slog. I was kind of enjoying that present moment. It was a joy to be there. It was a pleasure. And what I've begun to notice is that my actual posture was beginning to change naturally. It's like the smile on my face had somehow kind of relaxed my shoulders and it was making me stand more upright and kind of firm with my shoulders in line with my hips. So I'd begun to notice that my emotional state was actually changing my physiology, it was changing my posture. I then, after a while, I'd begun to kind of look at my heart rate. And I'm like, well, yeah, my heart rate is usually up and down. And I understand that this isn't probably the sole influencing factor. But I was like, when I run at this pace, my heart rate is normally a little bit higher. So it's like overall, I was just completely relaxed, or well, as relaxed as you can be when you're running out in the morning. So the reality is here that in essence, by tuning in to how it is you're feeling at that point and beginning to change the emotional state, it can have a much bigger impact than just what is actually going on within your brain. It can actually have an impact, just like we went through before with when we started to feel sad that we was potentially like slumped over and stuff. That when we're feeling upbeat, it's like we shoulders are much more relaxed, we're much more positive and that kind of thing. And this can like transpire in different areas of our life. So, in essence, what I did with this is that call it the kind of the running with a smile. Like the other thing that I didn't mention is that people probably think I'm weird, right? Running through the forest with a big beaming smile on my face, but I'm getting a lot more smiles back from other people, which is interesting. I love it, right? So, in terms of associations, we can tell ourselves whatever story we want. We can say, I'm always injured. I can't do this. It's too hard. I don't run in the rain. We can make up all the stories that we want. Or we can focus on the things that we are potentially grateful for, or basically look to the end result of what it will feel like when we've achieved that result. And we can begin to create these empowering associations to those experiences. Because we just have to remember that whatever stories that we are telling ourselves, they are the stories that our future experience and ultimately our present state will latch onto. So these are the things that I might tell myself, right? Running is a privilege. I'm inspiring my children by doing this. I'm inspiring others. I get to improve my health. Charities benefit from me doing this today. I will run a marathon, right? So even on the wettest, darkest, snowiest, iciest, whatever horrible days, we can tell ourselves things like this and then just get out there and do it. So what we're going to do now is go into this meditation type experience where we begin to create these positive feelings, positive emotions, positive states that are associated with that exact problem, challenge that you had highlighted before. So before we start, I think this will last for probably around about 7 to 10 minutes or so. If anyone isn't seasoned in meditation, if you begin to feel uncomfortable, just basically open your eyes and just bring yourself back into the room. Just make sure that you are looking after yourself in this. We're not really doing anything too strenuous here. All that I'll be asking you to do is basically reflect on that scenario and basically begin to think about it from a powerful perspective. Okay. So what I will ask is if you could close your eyes throughout this. So just make sure that you're in a comfortable position. If you do choose to stand, just make sure that you have something supporting your back. I have had somebody fall over in a in-person session before because they got a bit wobbly. So just be careful. Just look after yourself, right? Um, So if you find yourself in a comfortable position, whatever works for you, then let's take a deep breath in. So breathe in through the nose and slowly release. As you take another deep breath, just allow your body to settle, your mind to clear. Just take another breath, and this time take it deep into your belly, in through the nose and out through the mouth. As you just notice how your breath returns to normal, but tuning into any sensation that is most vivid for you. This may be the breath at the tip of the nose or the mouth. It may be your chest expanding or contracting. Whatever is most vivid for you in this point. Now, if you haven't already, just gently close your eyes or lower your gaze. Just feel yourself with each breath becoming more present, more at ease, relaxing. Now let's start by reflecting on the scenario that you previously explored. Just bring to mind a recent version of this experience. Now, there's no need to dive into any detail with it, just bring the situation to mind. And remember that whatever came up for you, it is completely normal. Many people face what you faced, feel the way you felt. But the thing is, here today, this will never be the same again. Now, picturing this scenario, I'd like you to see yourself going into this scenario, knowing that everything would work out. That you would absolutely exemplify at it. As though you are the best in the world at that specific thing. Now, what happens as you start? Just pay attention to what you see. What about during that scenario? What happens? Play it all out as though you are absolutely smashing it. Picture as much of the situation vividly, remembering that you are an exemplar. You are the best in the world, after all, at this specific thing. In that scenario, just imagine yourself looking around, taking it all in. Just notice how you feel. how you feel in that point in time. Focus on the sensations that you feel. Pride, confidence, fulfillment, happiness, joy, belief. Let any feelings just wash over you as if you are experiencing them all for yourself. After all, could be real, right? Now just sit with those feelings, the experience of you being an exemplar, just for 30 seconds or so. Now your experience is coming to an end. You've delivered what you was going to deliver. You've done what you was going to do. And you have done so well. You have absolutely smashed it. Just paying attention to those feelings. Let's come out of that event and let's come back more into the present moment. Now, I'd like you to think of some kind of small action that you can take. Something simple. It may be clicking your fingers, could be clenching your fist, maybe jumping up and down. You know, something that works for you. Now visualize yourself performing this action. And as you do, just let the empowering emotions that you've just experienced just attach themselves to this action. And now every time you do this action, just in your mind, see the connection forming. Every time you perform this task, this experience, those feelings of success will follow. Now take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Just allow this positive association to sink deeper into your mind as you take another deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. See yourself regularly performing this action, feeling uplift, feeling energized, feeling empowered every single time. Now let's shift our focus. Let's go to the future. Let's visualize yourself continuing to build these associations over time. You may see yourself going and living out one of those scenarios. See that it becomes a habit, that you feel the way that you felt when you was in that experience. Whatever it was, you smashed it. And recognize the emotions that you experienced when you did smash it. Think of the action, the small action, the click of your fingers, the clenching of your fists, the power move, whatever it was you chose. See yourself practicing that, developing it, associating more and more positive emotion to that specific move. Recognizing that this doesn't only have to apply to that one scenario. You can apply it to as many as you want. And at that point in time, you can experience the same feelings that you did when you was overcoming that scenario. Just take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just recognize that what you're working on is something that will take you to greater success. You have the choice. Now, when you're ready, take one more deep breath in through the nose, hold in the belly before releasing through the mouth. And then just gently just bring your awareness back into the room. Feel yourself grounded and empowered, knowing that the association that you have just created will serve you as you move forward. You have a choice in how you feel. And you can choose to rebuild that association to that negative experience. Or you can choose from this day forward to forget about it and build that new association that we've just worked on.